Joseph Chou has always dreamed big and had a steely determination to succeed. In the early 1990s, he gave up his highly respected role as a senior diplomat in China and with $4,000 in his pocket, decided to leave his homeland and head for the land of opportunities. Embarking on his new life in Australia, he had a goal to earn $1 million a year, but found himself instead working as a pizza delivery guy, earning a measly $7 an hour. Today, however, he is one of Australia's leading property investors and the founder and CEO of Ironfish. The power of dreams and association and a strong self-belief drove this success story. Bicycles to Bentleys relives the journey.
I was one of the new generation of diplomats. I was specifically trained to become a cultural counselor or cultural counsel, and I was quite excited about the prospect of traveling the world, representing my country, and being university educated and also educated in America. I thought I could bring that balance between my knowledge about the West to to China, because when I first joined the diplomatic corps, the typical Chinese diplomat was very Chinese, and they were in that closed mindset, yet living in a very westernized environment. They were constantly struggling with that aspect. How do you find the balance? Well, you maintain the party line, but in the meantime, you were, overwhelmed by all these, Western, capitalism. And to me, I thought, I could bring some balance.
You first came to Australia in the 1980s, and that was really when the love affair with this country began. What was it about Australia that spoke to you and said, this is the free life here in Australia, and made you want more of that?
Number one, when I studied in America, I was really interested in Western culture, and I loved music, I loved art. And when I came here in 1988, it was in the bicentenary year, a lot of celebration. Number one, I was really, really overwhelmed by the beauty of the beaches. The following day after I arrived, I went to Manly Beach, and I couldn't believe how blue the beach was, the water was. And it was just so beautiful, and everything was clean, it was nice. And then when my wife and I used to go to the opera house to all these different functions, and we used to come out during the recession, the interval, and then having a glass of champagne, looking at the city skyline, the harbor, and visualizing, gee, this is the kind of life that we'd love to have one day, and anytime you want, not just because you work as a diplomat, but also because as an individual you get to enjoy this type of life.
You wanted it so much, you decided that you wanted to move here. You left this highly respected diplomatic role and you came to Australia and you were selling pizzas for $7 an hour. What did you actually find was the biggest challenge about coming here as a migrant and with a vision to start a business?
Number one, I had no local experience. Back in 1991, Australia was deep in recession, so it was very hard to find any job, to tell the truth. Secondly, I had never had any business experience whatsoever. To start a business, to me, was like something totally out of my my training and background. But I really just kept one faith that if I was prepared to learn and work hard, it would be okay. But the challenge was, back in 1991, if you had met me, you would have felt sorry for me. 29 years old. I didn't even have PR at the time, and $4,000, which I spent to buy a car. So I really had no means to stay here. Yes, that was really a big challenge, a lot of uncertainty. So really the dream and the faith kept my wife and I going. Because everything I had done by that point had been a journey of pursuing dreams. Because, to a lot of Chinese, I shouldn't have gone to Peking University. It was a very prestigious university, very competitive to get in. So I was kind of used to that sort of, idea of, pursuing your dream, treating every goal as a project. Make sure you finish the project well and have laser-sharp focus. So when I was deciding to come to Australia, I knew that obviously I had to start from scratch. I knew that I had to be prepared to work really hard, which I'd never grudged doing.
Setting goals has been so key to your journey and your success, and you encourage others to do the same. How do you encourage people, though, to set goals that are realistic, but also goals that won't restrict them, so that they put the blinkers on and miss other opportunities that might be out there?
I think the main thing that people need to know exactly what they want out of life. An American oil billionaire, L.H. Hunt, said, if you want to be successful, you need to do three things. Number one, you decide what you want out of life. Number two, you decide what price to pay. Number three, you pay the price. To me, you see, when people set goals, it's easy. Sometimes people don't want to set goals because they don't want to disappoint themselves. But the way I look at it is, if you genuinely believe that you want to have a better life, something more out of life, and you're prepared to work for it, you see, you don't have to restrict to one particular vehicle or time frame. As they say, you see, the goal should be in concrete. That means you want to achieve your goals, but time frame can be in the sand. So that means, usually it takes longer than you want. Every single goal I've set, I've never achieved it on time. I've always delayed. But it doesn't matter, you see, because you're progressing. The other part to the goal is that you really need to be prepared to really to be flexible in terms of vehicles. So a lot of people try one thing, it doesn't work. Not only do they give up on their vehicle, but also they give up on their goals altogether. I just happen to believe that, you see, if you have a goal and you believe that you can get there and you're prepared to wait and back it up with action, it always comes to you.
The power of association is something you believe very strongly in, and it comes out in your book as well. Do you believe then it's not what you know, but more who you know a lot of the time?
Absolutely. I believe, you see, if you look at the people in life, you see, I like that you become who you associate with, or birds of the feather flock together. People who are successful, they tend to, associate with each other, talk about business idea. I heard a saying a long time ago, they say successful people, when they're together, they talk about concepts, business concepts or success concept. Most people, when they get together, they gossip about other people. And the other thing I also believe that, you see, we actually have a picture about ourselves in our mind. And who determines, what determines that picture is really the people you associate with or the books you read and, sometimes the CD or the music you listen to. Because, you see, all of this environment, we're the product of our environment. The people you associate are a very important part of the environment. If they keep telling you, something is good, you tend to believe it, and then you tend to, be open-minded about it. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was talking to a friend of mine from before. He bought so much into the current doom and gloom, and, all of a sudden I said to myself, I don't want to see this guy anymore because, I almost want to believe what he's saying. Then when I look at our business, you see, it's growing much, faster than last year. We're very optimistic about the current environment. We want to think outside the square. But when you listen to people who have all this negative thinking, you tend to get affected. That's why, I'm a very strong believer in changing the environment. And what happened to me is that my income was stuck on a level for a number of years. I couldn't get over that. But when I started realizing that, it was my environment that was actually affecting my income, I started looking outside that. Once I got, a different circle of friends, 3 years later, my income went up 5 times. And, to me, that was just mind-boggling.
And obviously you didn't think that was a coincidence.
Oh, absolutely not. And then after that, I changed my environment again, and then the same thing happened. But sometimes people want to change the result, but they're not changing the cause for the result. That is the difference. And I used to say at my seminar, I say, tonight when you go home, think about your result. If you're happy with your result so far, send a thank you letter to all your friends. By the same token, if you're not happy, send them a complaint letter, because chances are they have something to do with it.